Some of the hardest days of my life, I'll be honest with you, where I was on the edge of, you pick up skills, discipline, process, knowing your position, working as a team, being a leader.
15 years in real estate.
It's been a journey.
The eastern suburbs of Sydney. Damn.
It's in the blood. That's what's created my career, really, efficiently. Yeah, rugby was my life. My best rugby seasons were when I had my best pre-seasons.
The work ethic, the discipline, embrace the shit.
I became pretty obsessed. Get there first, leave last, make the most amount of calls, get in the most amount of doors.
Do your pre-season right so you are ready for the season.
It's a non-negotiable.
Everybody show all the beautiful things, but they never explain what they have to go through to become the best.
I consumed the industry. People let the industry consume them.
Sometimes you need to kill an old part of yourself to have a new one born.
You are only as good as your people.
The hustle, the purpose, the drive.
How do I make them think Clay every time someone talks about real estate?
Clay, Brodie, thank you so much for coming in, mate.
Thanks, Perry. Thanks for
Appreciate
having me.
that. Mate, and I always see you've been a rugby player. How long?
Like I played obviously through my childhood, but straight after school for about probably seriously after school for about 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
On top of obviously the almost 15 I did whilst I was at school, so a long time.
No, because when I saw you the first time, I'm like, oh, he's got some big short.
Yeah.
No, well done, mate. Thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure.
15 years in real estate.
It's been a journey.
In the eastern suburbs of Sydney.
Yep.
Damn. And the first question came to mind, and the reason I asked you to come in is because I often see this industry as a sport.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, when I recruit people for my business, if they have a strong sport background, is always a positive. The question I have for you is how much that professional rugby player career played in your current career in real estate?
I think the short answer of that is immensely. Like, it was probably one of the biggest aspects of my benefits, well, not benefits, but the pros that I had coming into this industry. And I had no background in real estate. Like, my parents didn't own real estate. I'd never bought a property. Obviously, I was fresh out of school. It just wasn't in my blood at the time.
Yeah.
But sport was. My dad was a professional player or sportsman in multiple different sports. My mother was as well. My brothers all play rugby as well. So it's in the blood, and that, having that as you grow through or you get older and doing it yourself, you pick up skills that you might not realize that you're picking up at the time, like discipline and process and knowing your position or your lane and, working as a team or being a leader or listening to direction. You pick up all these little aspects along the way that are pretty much directly implemented into real estate, especially sales.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's created my career, really, being able to do that efficiently and successfully.
The work ethic, the discipline, embracing the shit.
Yeah, like literally taking the knowing also, and I put it this way all the time, like my best rugby seasons were when I had my best pre-season. So putting in the hard work early before the season always set you up to have the best season. I think in real estate, the prospecting side of things that people don't enjoy doing all that much, if you don't do that, your year's probably not going to be that great. If you do it, you set yourself up.
That's so true. I was speaking with my colleague. He's helping me doing calls and stuff like that. Then we will do a review, and I told him, mate, when you were playing around 2-3 months ago, now all the things are popping up.
Yep.
I love that. So do your season right.
Yep.
So you are ready for the season.
Absolutely. It's a non-negotiable.
I love that. Okay, after we're going to touch about the habits. I love that stuff. Okay, so you're born and bred in Sydney?
Yep.
In the East?
Yeah, Maroubra Beach is where my family are from, so I'm...
Bra boy.
Right, yeah. No, not really, but obviously grew up in that area, so have that sort of background, which has also been a part of, I think, my success and, bringing a slightly different, aspect to this market. Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Nice. Okay. And you grew up with a big family?
Well, there's I've got two full brothers, two half brothers, but there's 5 brothers altogether.
Wow.
Me being the oldest, and then the youngest still at school at the moment at Waverley College. So,
Yeah.
a big gap between us, but all very close and all
Yeah.
very pretty much like-minded as well. So,
Are you the only one that decided to get into real estate?
yep, I am the only one that's in real estate at the moment. The others, I mean, the one's just finished school, one's at school, but the other 2, one is Mr. Universe, so he's in the bodybuilding world and a
Really?
professional at that. So obviously has that, and the other one traveled the world playing professional rugby as well. So we've all had some sort of aspect of, I guess, professionalism about what we do, but just different industries.
Interesting. So one of your brothers is Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Universe, Torren, who's 25 now. He's Mr. Universe at the moment, so he's
Damn.
travels the world training and
Not bad.
yeah,
Not a bad
it's
life.
not a bad life.
Well
Exactly.
done, mate.
Yeah.
And the other brother is still a professional.
He's
rugby
playing. He
player.
lives in Perth and he plays rugby over there at the moment. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay, I love it. So big
Massive
sporty
sporting
house.
family. Yep.
You can call that. Okay,
Yep.
fantastic.
yeah,
And after that, you get into the path of playing rugby.
Yep.
And by the way, like I do martial arts,
Yep.
and I like to think that I'm a tough guy, but I play rugby 2-3 times.
yeah,
Man, it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
They knock you down, man. Because in martial arts, when I compete, we do the same weights.
yeah.
In rugby, you're going to have someone like you, like good luck. Like, he's a very tough sport, man.
Yeah. Luckily for me, I was always on the bigger side, so that obviously helped with all the the
Injuries.
collisions and injuries and stuff like that. I never really had a huge injury issue throughout my career. I did try and make a comeback about 2 years ago, just socially, and probably did the worst injury of my career, which was quite frustrating and put me in a cast for almost 11 weeks or something, which was tough being a real estate agent.
Really?
But I won't be doing that again. But yeah, rugby was my life. Like I was obviously through school. Just after school, rugby was everything. I had aspirations of playing for my country and going to the very top.
Yeah.
I played overseas. I dabbled in that sort of career and lifestyle as well. And then one day I was actually about to go on the field. I was playing for Eastern Suburbs down at Woollahra Oval, and my dad was just on the sideline. He said, "Mate, I think you should probably, be careful. If you're going to get injured, you need something to back you up, or you need a backup plan."
Yeah.
And at that point, all I thought was rugby. I didn't think of anything else.
Yeah.
And that was the moment I made my first call into real estate, and that was calling a friend and saying, "Hey, mate, do you have any opportunities?"
Yeah.
And he was in commercial real estate at the time. He said, "This is probably not what you want to do, but we have a friend named Randall who is starting his own
The big
residential
Randall Camp,
business."
huh?
Yep.
Shout out to Randall. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And since then you said, all right, I'm done with rugby. I'm going to get into real estate. What
I tried
was
to
the
do
line?
both at the same time. It didn't work. And I will say this to any young people that are trying to get in the industry, or even young people that are trying to juggle
Yeah.
multiple professional, situations. It's hard to do. Like, not many people can give 100% at everything.
At that
And
level.
I've learned that in life, right? And I think I made that decision pretty quickly when I realized I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I went and I actually had a year off real estate, and I haven't mentioned this to you before, but I moved to Hong Kong for a year and I lived there
Really?
and played rugby, and that was all I did for a year. And I feel like that got it out of the system for me. I couldn't help myself. I still met some people about real estate when I was in Hong Kong, but realistically, that was the last hurrah for me. And I came back with about 5 years of real estate experience and really ripped in with Ray White Woollahra at that point.
Did you pick up anything, any languages?
I didn't pick up any languages. I picked up cultural differences, and I picked up, different aspects of how different people do things
Yeah.
and life experience. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, whether it's my industry or any industry that you're in, life
Yeah.
experience is key.
I agree. That's a
Mm.
very good point. It's more. I read a lot of books, and they all say like, yes, there is the IQ, there is the EQ, which is the emotional intelligence, and the life experience. I so agree on that. Is actually pay much more dividends down the line to actually connect with people, especially in this industry.
Absolutely.
So I agree.
It's unbeatable.
And I'm confident, man, if you were selling a property in Hong Kong, I'm pretty sure you will be doing well as you're doing here.
Exactly.
Man, well done. Okay. I didn't know you were in Hong Kong for years. That's so interesting. By yourself?
No, at the time I had a partner, and I was over there with them as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. But I had friends. I made new friends.
Yeah.
I built relationships over there with people in all different aspects of Hong
Yeah.
Kong.
Yeah.
And made it very enjoyable. But
Yeah.
I just learnt a lot. That was I just really soaked up everything.
Yeah.
Which just increased my readiness to come back and really rip in to real estate.
So
Yeah.
when you came back, I said, "All right, I'm done."
Yeah. This is it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's important to do it
Yeah.
there. How old were you when you did that?
26 I was when I came back. 26, 27 when I came back,
Yeah,
and I was ready to go. Like I remember that moment.
yeah. And after you joined, that's where you started with Randall,
No,
or
I
you
was
were
already
already
with Randall. I left and came back. Yeah.
Okay, and
Yep.
and so you are now a new real estate agent.
Yep.
In the eastern suburbs, very competitive.
Yep.
And you said, "All right, I need to get some deal."
Yep.
Who gave you the structure of what to do every day, and what was your daily habits then?
There was a lot of self-teaching. Like I think I had some guidance from Randall, who was obviously had been doing it for longer than me.
Yeah.
He was doing it his way. I was feeding off the back of that. But when I came back from Hong Kong, it was really going, all right, like, who do I need to tell that I'm doing this? Who needs to know that I'm a real estate agent? Because people underestimate how busy other people's lives are. And when they're working all day, they've got kids to look after, they have uni to go to, or whatever they're doing, they're speaking to people, but they're not always thinking about you when someone talks about property. And I thought, well, how do I stop that from happening? How do I make them think clay every time someone talks about real estate? And I was quite excessive with that. Like I got my phone book out. I called every single person in my phone. Now, you might say you don't need to call your grandmother, or you don't need to call your auntie, or you don't need to call your cousins, but I did. And I prospect my grandmother every week and asked her if she has any friends that are looking to sell. And I did that over and over and over until she knew that every time she spoke to someone, she needed to remember that I was the real estate agent that she should push forward. And it's not like she was pushing anyone else, but just not thinking at the time and moving past that without actually saying my name.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do, and that's what I did straight away off the bat. And I looked at, okay, that's my network. What's the extremities of that, and how far can I push that?
Yeah.
What sports have I played? What extracurricular activities have I taken place in where I built a network that I could, I guess, dig into.
So check your phone contact first. See
I think
who
that's the
you
best
know,
thing. Well,
and let them know.
Call the people that like you.
Yeah.
There's people out there that like you, I think, unless you're a really bad person, you'll find some people that like you, and they're the easiest point of call, right? So why not start with them and then get them telling people for you?
Yeah, and that's important. You don't need to give them a sales pitch. Just say, hey, I'm in the game. I'm in the industry.
Absolutely.
You're selling. No, man, I love that. Okay. And after that, you start to prospecting. What was your schedule? I was like, I got the office at 8, and this is the number of calls. After from 4 to 6, I don't know. What was the plan? What was your
I
schedule
became
there?
pretty obsessed at that point. I think I really went into that, and there was other guys around me that were older than me that are still in the industry and doing quite well. And I looked at what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I really delved into that, obsessed, get there first, leave last, make the most amount of calls, get in the most amount of doors, build the most amount of relationships. I really went heavy on the social media aspect. Realistically, when I started doing it, there's probably only one other person that is a bit older than me and been doing it for a bit longer that was really into it.
Right.
And I sort of used what he was doing to create my own brand and awareness. Which is why I have the Brodie Group Instagram and things like that, which I've been using for many years now. So I went all in. I literally just went all in, and I wanted to be the hardest worker, and I wanted to be obsessed, which I was, because my next step from there was putting a team member on. And I knew that if I got the numbers on the board, my office would back me and we'd put someone on, and then my expectation was to double from there.
Nice. Okay. And what was your target then? Like when you say, I'm a solo agent now, and what was the target when you start to add someone in the team?
Well, but probably 30 deals, somewhere between 20 and 30 deals. I think if you're doing that many deals a year, unless you're happy just doing that and being at that sort of level, then you need a team member.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to go to the next level effectively. I see people sometimes do it without a team member, and they go and they blow out and they do 30 deals, 35 deals, but then the next year they do 15.
Yeah.
They can't be consistent because the service isn't there, or the regeneration of new leads isn't there. So I knew that I needed to put a team on.
Interesting. You mentioned a regeneration of the leads. What do you mean? So someone that you sold the property, they're happy with the results. How's that
Yeah,
work?
like so people you've sold for, people that know people that you've sold for, people even in the street that you've sold in. So just general prospects, really.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
there's all different types of prospects out there, and and you can't. What I learned very early, and again coming back to my sporting background, is everyone has their lane.
yeah,
Everyone's good at specific things. Like, and I'll use this analogy, and I've used it before in speaking to other people. But when I was a rugby player, I could play professional rugby, and in my position, I had a specific job that I had to do. And if I didn't do that job as a professional, the whole team, the whole game plan would break down. Like, it
yeah,
just wouldn't happen because you didn't do your job. But if I went back to an amateur team and I played in my amateur team in club level, I didn't have to just stay in there. I could do different things. I could go and score a try. I could run the ball. I could be flamboyant. And it didn't affect the game plan
yeah,
because it was just an amateur team and we were just
yeah.
having fun and it didn't matter. So pick your lane. Do you want to be a professional or do you want to be an amateur?
Wow, I love that one.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. So I'm just, I'm gonna break it down.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So when the level is C, doesn't matter what the fuck you do, that doesn't really affect the overall team. When you move into the next level, you need to start to think next level. You need to start to think details. You need to start to think team. And you make sure you're going to get it right, because not just you will lose.
Yep.
Everyone will be losing.
Yeah, you'll fall behind, right? And I
Yeah.
think the best teams in our industry, if you look around at the best teams, sales teams in what I do, and buyers agents as well,
Yeah,
like they know their lane. So like me as a lead agent, I know what I'm good at, right? I know what I'm not good at. I know what my weaknesses are. I know what I'm really good at. So how do I get better at what I'm good at and then plug the weaknesses
Yeah.
in a way that someone else who's good at those is doing them?
Yeah.
And that was the building of a team, right? It's
Yeah.
like, as I said, playing sport. You're not good at everything generally. You're good at your position, and then someone else is good at this position, and that's why they play there. But when you bring it all together, the team works.
Yeah. Yeah. Mate, that's brilliant. Okay. So, you start to do a few deals and you start to recruit the first person?
Yep.
How long it took you to get the first
6
person?
months.
6? Oh, okay, that's all right.
Yeah. So when I came back, after 6 months, I put someone on. And she was like an all-rounder. So she was like an EA/associate. So she was doing some calls, she was doing some buyer work, she was doing all my admin, she was going to everything with me. She's still in the industry doing really, really well with another office now, but doing really, really well. And I think that was the first step in doing that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, so going back to, building the team. So, because everybody show all the beautiful things, you only see on social media. Yeah, they're doing great. They all show and tell the best, but they never explain what they have to go through in order for them to become the best or stay the best. What would you say has been your biggest lessons that you learned as a solo agent and you moved to a leader with running a team?
I've learned a lot. There's been a lot of lessons throughout that period, and I won't, obviously bore you on all of them, but I think there's been some pretty major ones. Whilst coming through, the biggest thing I learned with people was you are only as good as your people, right? So if you're going to run a team, you need to give your team the time and the training and the nurturing to make sure that they're the best versions of themselves, because if they're the best versions of themselves, they're going to work more effectively, which is going to help you be the best version of yourself, because the stress is going to be less of having to worry about what they're going through at the time and concentrating on what you're there to do. And I think I learned that quite quickly, that it's not just about you. When you have a team, it's a team. And some people say they're all about team, but realistically they're about themselves, and they have a team that help them get to where they need to be, but they don't look after the team the way they should. And that's why a lot of these teams come and go.
Mate, I see this especially with top performer. They are a bit of it too, and and probably me as well, when you took you so much effort and you do so much work for so many years, and you don't want them to fuck it up, so you kind of struggle to let it go a little bit, and it's hard, especially when you in the building stage. It's like, fuck, I'll just do myself.
It's easy to give up, right? And it's easy to blame others, and it's easy to make excuses, but at the end of the day, it's you, right?
Yes.
And you're the one that wanted to make the team, put the team on. This young person's taking a risk to join you and and work with you. So are you, but you both are. So you need to work together on that. And as I said, they're there to be developed. They didn't come on just to muck around. They want to learn, And I think the best people I've had, I've helped them learn. And when they learn, they're happy. And when they see progression, they're happy. And when your team's happy, generally speaking, you're doing well.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I would say the learning curve when you train someone, I believe, is in a certain way you need to get a hit short term, but to get the long term, I would say.
Absolutely. And I think, and going into what you're saying about what I've learned and things like that, I think there's two aspects of this whole thing as well, right? Once you've got a really good team, and I had 8 associates at one point, and the market was flying. We were selling, we were doing, somewhere between 77 and 80 deals. 8 people in the team. So
it's pretty big.
It was a big team, and I was hitting multiple different areas. I had Bondi, Randwick, Paddington. Like, we were in different areas, and I had associates posted in those areas, and it was working really well. But and I was doing well, and and I felt like I was flying, and I was becoming what I thought I'd always wanted to be at that point, which was a successful agent. I was chairman's elite within the Ray White network, which meant, top 1% at the time. I was become principal. It was all happening. And the reason that happened in a way was because I consumed the industry. Like, I really took on the industry. I was obsessed about the industry of real estate and selling, and I consumed it. But then what ended up happening through doing that, which is a huge thing that happens in our industry, and I'm sure you've seen it before, people let the industry consume them.
Yeah.
And that's probably been one of the biggest lessons in my life so far. I allowed the industry to consume me and pull me away from what is actually important in life.
Letting the industry consume you. Do you mind to elaborate a little bit more on that? Because it's so interesting. So it's because please go into the details, because that's interesting.
Yeah, look, I think, and looking back on it all, and again, life lessons and experiences, when I look back at what I've done and where I've been in the last probably 3 years, from when I was at the top of my game to where I am now, I think what I'm noticing, what I've learned is that, what everyone sees on the outside is not always what's happening on the inside, right? We're an industry driven by social media, egos, all the glitz and the glam of what happens in this world. And that's great. Don't get me wrong. Nice cars are nice. I like nice cars. Houses. I love all that stuff. But at one point I let it take over my life, and I was driven by how many people were on my Instagram, what shoes I was wearing, what car I was driving, what holidays I was going on, and what was everyone perceiving me to be from the outside looking in. But I forgot about myself and looking at myself and thinking about, what do I perceive about myself when I look at myself in the mirror. And I got obsessed with that. And in a way that probably helped me get to where I was at the time, but it was also a bit of a demise, which impacted my life on the outside of real estate. And what I think now, and what I'm telling people in my industry, is like, it's a tough industry. Like, this is not an industry you just get in and you make all this money and you get to drive a nice car and you get to do whatever you want to do. Like, that's what it might look like.
Yeah.
But all the stuff that goes with it that actually impacts your life outside of work and real estate and business is the most important part. Because if that's not right, if you don't have that, at least, stable, then doing what we do is almost impossible.
It's hard to perform when you got something in a personal situation.
Well, you know what it's like. You turn up one day and you have a bad sleep, right? And you come to work and you're in a bad mood. Not only does it impact your performance, but it impacts the people around you. And if you do that consistently enough,
becomes toxic.
There's breakdown in relationships, and you lose good staff members. And again, I'm the first to put my hand up and say I let that happen, and I lost some really good people that I'd built and grown from nothing from just, joining the industry to
Yeah.
being quite successful at what they did. And, I had to go through that. I did. Like, as hard as this sounds, but looking back at it, I needed to go through that. And what I've learned from that has now allowed me to start helping other people
Yeah.
and, things like this, mate, like I'm an open book. I want people to hear what I've got to say. And I don't want people to make the same mistakes if I can help them avoid it. Because, there's things looking back that I could have changed at the time. I could have been a bit more, I could have had a look at myself back then and gone, you know what, you've done well, but you're getting a little bit too obsessed with the good things.
Yeah.
Let's think about life. Let's think about the things that really matter
Yeah.
and get that right and make sure that's right, because then the business side of things would have looked after itself.
Yeah. Man, thank you for sharing this. And this is, I believe, in a lot of industry as well. People get attracted and drawn into this shiny object syndrome, which is very easy. Can be very attractive.
Yep.
The nice car, the nice things, the nice restaurants, which is nothing wrong with that. But if they get to the point that they control you and you don't control them, that becomes toxic, and from toxic turn into a cancer, and the cancer dies.
Correct.
There is a book I'm reading, like sometimes you need to kill an old part of yourself in order for you to have a new one born.
The rebirth, right? And I feel like that's where I am right now. Like I've gone through, I'll be honest with you, where I was on the edge of probably leaving this industry and moving on with something else. And I'll be honest with you, where I was on the edge of probably leaving this industry and moving on with something else and trying to forget about it, because I was in a bad place, and I've had good people around me that have helped me through that. I've had good support that have helped me through that from people that I've met in the industry and in life, and they've helped me stay on track. And they've obviously helped me when I've had those dark moments. But I think, looking at it now and learning from it, sure, there's still aspects that are hard to look at and hard to think about.
Yeah.
But I'm on the rebuild now, and I think that that's exciting, and that excites me.
I agree. I agree. Is the butterfly, the hustle, and the purpose, the drive.
Yep.
And I believe it's a needed step. I've never met a person is successful there. I think they are successful in my, because success for me is not just, I got a nice car, I got a nice money, I got a great business. Other part of the life is this guy is fulfilled. For me, wealth is as well. He's got a family. He's got a healthy family. He's got a partner. Is he or he's just got a shitload of money, but he's depressed to go home and drink a bottle of wine by himself. Do you know what I mean? That's right. For me, is no wealth.
Absolutely. I think that, and that's a big thing for me. My outlook on what's success, what's wealth, what's important, health. If you're not healthy, you might as well give up, because your health is everything. If you're not feeling good, or at least in a position where your health is good enough that you can operate at a high level, then first of all, real estate is not for you. But what sort of quality of life is that? Like what about the people that care about you? What about the people you're responsible for? What about all the nice things that this world offers that you're going to miss out on if you're not healthy, right? And I think, I get up at 4 a.m. or I don't get up. I start training at 4 a.m. every day now. Even on weekends, I train. I don't miss that, and that's because I'm in this headspace of I neglected that for so long. I can't miss it now. Like I actually can't not do it, because I feel like I'm letting myself down and other people in my life that have helped me get through the hard times.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Because everybody's good when they do great.
Yep.
I never heard someone that was struggling when they do great.
No, exactly.
I mean,
you know what the funny thing about that, Perry, and I like what you're saying there, because generally speaking, when someone's doing great, you'll never hear if they're struggling, but that's because they mask it with how great they're doing. And I always look back at how great I was doing at the time when things did change for me. And to be honest, I was probably not doing great for a lot longer before that than I know, but it was masked by the fact that financially and, business-wise, I was doing great. So I put all that stuff under the rug, and I kept pushing it under the rug. But eventually that stuff rises to the top, right? You can't hide it forever. And looking back at it now, I'm much more open with what my feelings and emotions are. And even at work, like you might have a bad day, but you have those people in life that you can speak to. And I think, don't be afraid to, like there's people there for you. They care. And, I lost sight of that.
Yeah, these especially men, like the masculine, where
Absolutely.
like there is be men. I'm all into that.
Yeah.
Don't ask me, but there is a line where he's moving to, like they close themselves into the shelf and they don't really find a solution. They're not willing to be open about it and resolve it, because a lot of people went through. Everyone went through that. Like a lot of successful people. I believe in my eyes, is a normal step you have to take.
Absolutely.
In order for you to get there.
And help is only a conversation away.
I agree.
It really is.
I agree. Plus, you are in a city like Sydney, has so much to offer.
Absolutely.
Like, thank you for sharing this.
No,
that's fantastic. So, lessons here is everybody's good when they do well. Not everybody's good when they're not doing well. And then other things I've learned is setbacks are feedback. You know,
absolutely.
Feedback to actually need to learn in order for you to get there.
Yep.
And if the problem keep appearing, you are the problem. If you don't learn from the mistake, means you are the problem. Mate, thank you for sharing that. That was fun. Thank you for that. Okay. I'm sure after this, a lot of people are like, oh, fuck. Okay. Okay. So you build a team, 8 people, you go through challenges, but you keep pushing through. Hey, you build a family.
Yep. I've got two beautiful little girls, Harper and Willow.
Now?
Pardon? How old am I? I'm 34.
34.
Yeah. So they're 4 and 6, and they're beautiful little girls. And I, again, another reason why I've now changed and I'm doing what I'm doing is because I want to be the best version of myself for them. Yeah. Not just me, but for them. And as I said, people that you're responsible for, like, they deserve to have the life I had coming up as a child, and I want to give them to them. I had a dad who was a leader. I had a mum who was a leader, and I want to make sure they have that as well. Yeah.
Did it change you when?
Massively. My outlook on life since they came into my life. Sorry, I get a bit emotional about this.
No,
my outlook on life has changed dramatically since those girls came into this world. Like, you see things differently.
Yeah. I'm asking because my missus is pregnant.
Mate, congratulations, man. Best thing you'll ever do.
And that's why I'm asking all these questions. Like, all right, I got to be prepared here.
It really does open your eyes to everything, you know, and you go from feeling just responsible for yourself or the people that you work for, but then you've actually got these little innocent souls that are completely reliant on you and look up to you and love you unconditionally. And they do, because they don't know any better. And you have an opportunity to obviously build on that. And I think you can't, unless you're the best version of yourself, you can't effectively give them what they deserve.
Yeah. That's a real wealth, is it?
Yep.
Nice. Schedule.
Yes.
Mate, you look big. You got such a good muscle. I want to get some arms like that. Sorry if I just change, because every time I see you like, damn, you got a big shoulder. So, what's your schedule? What time you wake up?
Man, I'm up every day at about 3:45, which a lot of people think is ridiculous, but
I do 5, and I think I'm doing okay. Okay, tell me more.
it works for me, right? I just it's a process, and I get up and I'm at the gym by anywhere between 4 and 4:30. I'm in the gym, and I'm training hard. Like, I'm not just going in there and mucking around.
I can see that, mate. Yeah. I can see that.
I go in there early when there's no one there because it's my time. Yeah. It's where I get to just concentrate on me, think about things, and at the same time not think about things, right? And get my mind off other aspects
100%.
of life. And I train and I do that. And then I'll go from the gym normally to Bondi.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of your colleagues walking on the promenade. They're always having a jog.
Yeah.
So I'll do that pretty much every single day. I'll grab a coffee, I'll go home and prepare for work.
What time you get home after the training?
Probably home. I get probably 6:30.
6:30
on average.
Shower, office, what time?
Shower, office. Office, I'm there probably any time. I used to be a really early office guy. Like, I used to get there 7:30.
Yeah.
I stressed myself to be there at that time and I rushed. And now I'm more of the opinion that you don't need to do that. Like, I'm more of a sort of 7:30, 8 o'clock guy now. I'm probably more 8 o'clock than 7:30.
Yeah.
But once I'm there, I'm there. I'm present. and I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your day-to-day? I mean, you're pretty established now, and people kind of, majority of the call that you do, probably they know you, they heard about you, blah, blah, blah. But what would you say the daily target that you have for yourself, and maybe change it with, because you've been doing it for 15 years, and of course evolved your data. What's your schedule now compared to your schedule that was 10 years ago?
It's funny, right?
When not everyone knew you then.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think it's a funny situation. It's probably timing right now of doing this with you is good, because I'm rebuilding a team at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So when I had, let's say, 5 people working for me, my schedule is very different to now that I'm pretty much by myself, whilst I'm looking for new associates and the right people to have on board and who want to learn and grow. So at the moment, I'm doing everything, really. I'm prospecting cold, warm, and hot leads. I'm speaking to my hot list. I'm dealing with buyers. I'm showing private inspections. I'm doing everything that I haven't done for a long time, because I don't have that team around me. Now, it's both frustrating and refreshing. It's refreshing because I'm going back to basics and I'm doing it again. And I'm reminding myself of why I wanted a team and why I got to where I got to, because I don't want to be at that level for long at all, at all. But it's also frustrating because I can't grow the way I want to grow, because I need those people in the right positions in order to do that. Right now, if you can join those two things together, which is refreshing and frustrating, you'll grow. You will get there. You know, you've just got to trust the process. And I'm pretty close to putting on another associate. And once I put on another, I would plan to grow to something like 2 associates and an EA within the next sort of 12 to 18 months.
Very good. If someone want to come and work with you, what's the key attributes that you're looking for?
My biggest belief in life is you can't train a good person. So if you're just a good person, like you can't make someone a good person. Like, generally speaking, if you're a good person, you're a good person. If you're a bad person, like where there's smoke, there's fire, generally speaking, trying to train that out of you or coach that out of you is going to be pretty difficult. I like to think of myself as an okay person. I want to surround myself with like-minded people, because I think if everyone's like-minded and we're all working in the same direction, we'll be successful. I like to have people that want to learn. I think if you want to learn, and I want to teach, like I'm that type of person. And I think that's what I look for. I want people that are aspirational. I don't want people that want to just be an associate for the rest of their lives. I want you to be, if you want to be the number one agent in the network, I'll help you get there.
Got it.
That's the type of people I want.
Great. So more driven, student mentality.
Also, people that valued life. And a lot of people put life on the back burner and see the glitz and the glam and go all in on the real estate side of things, but forget about life.
In this area, you're right. You're right. There is a lot of Actually, it's funny you mentioned it. We're recruiting and we're building it, and there are some young people who are entitled.
Very much so.
I want to say, hey, shut the fuck up. Get the work done first, and after I want to make 300, I want to make $500,000. You'll get there. But don't forget this. You're not gonna get a free lunch like this.
Absolutely not.
You build your way there.
Absolutely. I think you're spot on, and I think you see, like, and I'm not one to claim what my background is, but I haven't. My dad was housing commission Maroubra. Mum's from apartheid South Africa. Like we aren't. I'm not blessed with having generational wealth behind me and things like that. And I'm not saying that changes people, but what I'm saying is if you've got that, and you can have the mentality that you're going to win and you're going to make this and you're going to do it, that's a recipe for success. And a lot of people around you have that. So make the most of it, come in and don't rely on that stuff. Start from scratch and treat yourself like you're starting from scratch. And go from there. I used to say, like in rugby, we used to have this thing, we get to half time. Doesn't matter what the score is at half time. We're starting from 0-0 and it's 0-0 and we're starting again and we're playing this half as this half, because that half is gone. So I think you forget about what you've come from and you think about what you're doing, and the people that can do that and concentrate on that as a holistic approach are the ones that will be successful.
Nice. Thank you, mate. Real estate question.
Yes.
So now vendors, I mean, I work on the buyer side, and all my phone calls and chat for the buyer side. Actually, the first question is for a buyer. Sometimes I hear on the phone, "Oh, should I wait? Interest rate, thing like that. Should I wait? I like the property, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to sign up with you yet because I want to wait interest rates." What's as a day-to-day practitioner? Well, Paddy, and this is your pocket. What's your tip for this buyer? They are on the fence. They want to buy, but they are on the fence. Just fucking buy.
Yeah. Look, I think hesitation. Some massive opportunities in history have been missed out on hesitation, and I think in my 15 years of real estate, I haven't had, I could probably count on one hand how many people have regretted getting into the market. But I could count on many hands how many people have regretted not getting into the market and looking back 3 years later and going, we wish we bought then.
Yeah.
Hindsight is something you never get back, and you can always say we wish we did it.
Yeah.
My suggestion is don't hesitate, get in. It's like anything in life, really. Like if you get in early and you do the time, you'll probably be successful, generally speaking. And we're in a beautiful country where our economy very rarely goes backwards.
Compared to the rest of the world, 100%.
Yeah, and I think, as I said, the percentage would be far greater in people regretting not doing it.
100%, I agree. Because, and this is from a buyer's agent side. People come to me. Usually, they give it a go on their own.
Yeah,
they don't buy, and they come, "Oh, can you help?" Yeah, no problem. But these people, they took the time. So what they could buy 2 years ago in Wallara Paddington, now they probably can't buy anymore.
Absolutely.
Especially in this pocket, I agree. Doesn't look like it's going down at all, especially in this pocket. Okay. And any tips that would you give to a buyer, and maybe dealing with real estate agents, they don't feel comfortable, and they don't know, they don't feel like, what's a little tip that would you give?
I think it's funny, right? And I can't speak for all agents in the industry because everyone's different. But I think for buyers out there, we're people. We are, we are we get this stigma around us being, all sorts of different things, and I don't need to go on it because everybody knows, but we are people. And, I'll be honest with you, I like dealing with nice people, right? So if you're coming through my open home and you're not nice to me and you turn...
You get people like that?
You do, they happen, right? And they're awkward, they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to tell you anything, they don't want to open up. And that's fine, not everyone likes to open up, but I think that help me help you. I want to work with good people. If you're a good person and you're a buyer in the market and you want to buy this property and you're nice and lovely to deal with, absolutely I want to do deals with you. I want to help you buy a property. I'm still going to make you pay as much as I possibly can because I work for my owner, but I want to do a deal with you. If you come in and you're closed off and you're not very nice and you don't want to give me any information and you try and act like, I'm the enemy.
Yeah.
It makes it pretty hard to work with.
Yeah, I agree. There is a lot of them, they don't feel, I would say, comfortable to open up. But even with me sometimes, I work for you, I work for the buyer.
I'm on your team.
Take them few weeks to open up and say, so I agree with that. The answer is, if you like it, buy, be straight, don't bullshit. Yes, they work for the vendor, but they're there to actually serve the buyers. So just get it done. Love that. For vendors, they're thinking to sell. Should I sell now? Should I wait in July? Should I wait that time? What do you hear of, from the vendor's point of view?
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of hesitation still. I think that we're finding, I came into that Christmas period with a massive list of properties. I would say at least 50% of those have delayed because they're just hesitant around what's happening out there. We've got an election coming up. We've got, Donald Trump's just got in America. There's some uncertainty out there in the world, which has been for a while now. So it hasn't changed for many years. Stopped. Exactly. But interest rates have started going down. Does that affect the market straight away? No, but will it impact it eventually? Probably. It's a positive connotation, which is nice. The election, once we get that out of the way, I think that will be good. And then hopefully the market does start to become a bit more, consistent is the word I'd use. I don't know if it's going to be, explode and go up, but I think if it's consistent and there's good buying and good selling, that's a normal market. And I think a normal market with a bit more stock is what we need and what we're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
So Okay, because I believe you face vendors they really need to sell, and that people are thinking to sell but don't know when.
Well, everyone's in different circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think what I say to my vendors when I walk in the door is that at the end of the day, the timing has to work for you. You know, like if you're looking to buy something and you want to do it now, well, then selling and buying in the same market, you're looking after yourself and you're going to be pretty safe, right? So I think personally, for as an agent and also as someone who's sold before myself, I think having sold my property, knowing what I've got to play with, then going out and purchasing,
Yeah.
as risky as it might feel, is a far better way of doing it than buying something and then rushing to try and sell your property. And the reason being is if you've got a good agent, that agent's a process-driven person. They have a process that's set in place to make something happen. Adding an extra aspect of you needing to sell for a certain price by a certain time at a certain moment and putting that extra pressure on an agent will sometimes change their process.
Yeah.
But if they know that you're ready to go, you want to sell this property, they've got to get you the best price. They put their process into place. The rest should look after itself. And I think once you know what you've got in your pocket, you become a far more valuable buyer to an agent. Because if you walk through the door, Perry, and you say, Clay, I've sold my house, I'm cashed up, I'm ready to go, I love this property, I'd love to buy the property off you, that's music to my ears, right? We're going to get a deal done here. My owners are going to get what they want. You're going to get the property that you want. Everyone's going to be happy. And there's going to be no hiccups along the way in regards to financing, 5-day cooling off periods, all those things that come with it.
Do you still get some 5 days cooling off
We
period
do.
in the East?
Well, especially in the apartment world, like you still do get.
Really?
Yeah, you do. Believe it or not, I don't often do them, but they get off. They get asked for.
Yeah, in the East doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
Okay. Mate, thank you. One more. This is my curiosity. Do you get a lot of vendors there where the value of the property is here, but their expectation is all over the top?
I couldn't, like, honestly, hand on heart, I think every vendor at the moment has expectations slightly higher than the market. Yeah. I can't remember the last property I've seen of late where we're all perfectly aligned. Like, there's always some sort of separation. And it's funny, right? Even when the market, it's just it's human nature to think that your property's better than what other people think because you live in it, you love it, it's yours, right? It's like you coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, you've got a nice car, Clay." And I'm like, "What do you mean nice car? That's the best car." You know what I mean? Like it's what people do, and I think
kitchen, like coffee table there.
Oh look at my bench top, it's white. Oh, it would be better if it was like an off grey. You know, like it depends on the person, and I think if you own it, you're always going to want more, and you're going to value it higher. So no matter whether or not the market in 2021 is firing, my owners still wanted more than what the market was worth, and now it's not at that level anymore. But they want more, right? It's just how far the gap is. And I think that my job as an agent is to get the best possible price. The best possible price out in the market at the time might not be exactly what the owner wants, but it's the best possible price in the market at the time. And it's up to them what they do with that. I know that I've done everything possible to get them there.
Yeah. And you advise them around and say, hey, this is worth it, take it, or let's keep going on the market, or change
you know
the
what?
campaign.
If you're not ready to sell and it's not good enough and it won't make what you want to do and you can't take your family and buy the next house, don't do it.
Yeah. Nice. Very direct. I like that. Mate, this is the last question, because if not, I keep asking you here. Where do you see the market is going? Of course, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows. Where do you think is the market going in this pocket?
Yeah, well, look, as I said, I think, with interest rates moving south now, loosening around that, banks loosening and lending are slightly easier now.
Yeah.
An election coming up. I don't know how much who gets in will impact the market, and I won't go too far into that because everyone's got their own opinions. But I think getting that out of the way is important and moving through that. I've been through many elections in the last, there seems to be one every year at the moment, but I've been through many, and the market does slow down around here during that period because people just like to watch and see what's happening.
They do.
I think stability around the world hopefully will start to improve. I think, yes, there's some pretty crazy personalities out there, and everyone again has their own opinions, but I'm hoping that in other countries things will start to hopefully stabilize, which will only help confidence.
Nice. And the last one is, what's your plan for the next 5-10 years, mate?
I'm on the comeback trail, right? So grow my team. I think, grow the business that we've got right now, which is a really large business, and we're at a big scale, but we've got big aspirations. And I think a big thing for me is growing people. I want to help people learn not only from what I've done wrong, but from what I've done right, and help people get to where they want to be in life and in real estate as well.
Nice. So yeah, you moved to partner and now you are a principal.
Correct. Yeah. So I'm one of the principals.
Right, well done.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
amazing. Okay, so where people can find you?
Well, my office is up on Queen Street, up there in Woollahra. I mean, my mobile's obviously on Google. It's been there for 15 years now.
Well,
Track me
Instagram?
down. Instagram, the Brodie Group. You can get me there.
I'll put the link below.
Chuck the link down there. I try to keep that, pretty soft-hearted. You get a lot of that just listed, just sold. I try to mix it up a bit, do some funny things. My videos, I've always been a bit outside the box with my videos.
We like it, mate. That's what we like to hear.
Right. Yeah.
And people appreciate that.
Yeah, I think so. Like at the end of the day, you can't take yourself too seriously.
Wait until you see our shit.
Yeah.
Mate, thank you so much for
Pleasure,
coming in.
mate. Thank you for having me.
That was brilliant. This is general advice and does not take into account your objectives, situations, or needs. You should consider if this advice is suitable to you and your personal circumstances. Please read any applicable PDS beforehand.